Hello and welcome to Running Your Stories episode 16. We're going to be joined by Abbie Dagg, who is a great runner, a very interesting, very enthusiastic lady, and also a podiatrist, so bringing a little expertise onto the show. We're going to talk about Abbie herself, her own running, the tremendous progress that she's made with her personal bests, and the fact that she's found a way to move forward by training properly, using a trainer. But why does it make a difference to find somebody really good to train with? What is it about the training that's really made a difference for Abbie, for her to be able to move forward in her running? It's a good, interesting chat. We also discuss a few questions that were posed by a new runner, a friend of mine who's been running for a month. The first month that she's been regularly running, and she had a few questions that Abbie and I discuss, share the answers so that they might be useful for other runners out there. So please listen in, and hopefully we've got some interesting information to share. Thank you. So Abbie, welcome to Running Your Stories.
Thank you.
And as we were just saying, let's start off with a little of your background,
Okay.
and then I think we've got a few interesting things to talk about.
I hope so. Okay. I started running, I think, in 2013. Well, recently I had a thing came up on Facebook with my first ever, I've run 5k, woohoo! And if I knew then what I know now, I might not have been so excited. But so that was January 2013. I know I fell in May 2013. I was fighting with my 7-year-old and stood on a block and twisted and fell, so that put me out for a good few months until I started again in the May. I ran our local 5k and then decided I could run a half from there. So that was when I started. But I used to do Zumba, and I had to finish in 2012 because my private practice started to pick up, and it was a case of something had to give to accommodate the growing practice. And a couple of lads in our local area were doing a training group ready for the local 5k, so I went along and started there. The first week was walk a bit, run a bit, walk a bit, run a bit.
Yep.
Second week I turned up and I was the only newbie there, so the lads went, come on, you'll be fine, off we go. Yep. I've never run this far in my life, and they dragged me around 3 miles. Granted, they waited for me and they let me recover, and I think it took us 45 minutes, but we got round. And then from there I increased my number of times I ran, and before I knew it I could run 4 miles. And then after the local 5k, which unfortunately they don't run anymore, real shame because it was really little, flat one around High Burton, I thought I could do a half marathon. Don't know what took me from 5k to half, but I got a charity place for the Great North Run. So in 2013 I did the Great North Run, and I'm very, very chuffed that I did it in 2 hours 12 on a very overcast and wintry day.
It's a good time.
Overtaking Carol Vorderman. That was my claim to fame. So that's basically my background. Then in 2014, the group that I was running with unfortunately folded because life took over. So the group unfortunately folded, and I was looking for a little friendly club. So that's when I joined Dale. So I've been running with Dale Athletic Club ever since, becoming their ladies captain in 2014. So that's basically where I'm at. And the runs and races have gradually got longer. As my daughter has got older, the distance has drastically increased. So yeah, that's basically my background in a nutshell.
Yeah. So I know some people sort of, when I guess more so once they get a bit settled into running, tend to focus on either a distance or a style. But from what I know of your background, it seems that you...
I haven't yet settled on anything.
You still do quite a range of...
I do. When I first started, we did mainly road, and then in the summer I did a couple of off-road runs and enjoyed those. Then when I started with Dale, I started in the September when the nights had started to draw in, so I was really doing road with them until... Oh, but I did cross-country in 2014 as well, and that was a bit of a... Okay, that's not quite what I expected. So I did cross-country. That interesting is cross-country. It's a bit like Marmite. You generally hate it until you finished it, and then you love it. But then as the weather got better, the lights got lighter, we got more off-road, so I thought quite enjoyed the trail running. I then did a couple of fell runs, enjoyed them too. And to be honest, no, I haven't settled on a distance, I haven't settled on a style. I'm one of those that as long as I'm running, I'm happy. Quite happy. As long as I've got my trainers, I'm fine.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Although I do like a challenge, which is I think where the longer distance came in. I did London in 2016, but that was more because I turned 40 in 2015. October 2015 I turned 40, and I decided I was running the London Marathon, as you do. Yeah. Midlife crisis.
Yeah. Been through a similar.
So I decided I was doing London. No other marathon would do. I didn't get in through the ballot, so I just thought, okay. Somebody else suggested Manchester. I thought, I don't want to do Manchester. I want to do London. It's got to be London. So I looked at the charity places and I thought, okay, bear those in mind. Then our club had their ballot. Well, we're only a little club, so we only got one place. So names go in a hat. My name was drawn. So for my fourth decade on planet Earth, I ran London Marathon and got a bug for the longer distances and realised that I could do the longer distances. We then went on holiday in 2017 to Northumberland, and I really loved that area. We stayed 1.5 miles away from Hadrian's Wall, and I just thought, ooh, I like this.
It's a nice area.
Oh, I really like this. It's so quiet and peaceful, and it's beautiful, and I could do this. And then I've got some nutter friends who went, we'll join you. So hence we ended up running Hadrian's Wall. I looked at a couple of races, but they didn't follow the wall. But they couldn't follow the wall because it's national routes and all the rest of it, so it's protected areas. And they're on road and 1 million miles. The rat race is one of them, and they don't follow the route. Yeah, and somehow it's only 76 miles.
I think there is one of them that takes in quite a big chunk of Hadrian's Wall, but then loops round in a 100-mile route.
Right.
That one looks interesting. I think is that Hadrian's 100 or something.
Don't know.
That one looks interesting because I think it follows the wall on that point.
Right.
So that's still only about a third of the race.
Yeah, it's...
it looks a fantastic race.
It's... Well, whilst we were there, we were staying at the youth hostel there, so I had Wi-Fi. So I put on one of the ultra running groups. Can anyone recommend a race? Does anybody know of anything? And one of the runners on. Have you come across the blog Beauty and the Bog?
No.
No. You need to look at it. It's written by ladies who they do phenomenal races. They do all sorts. They did the Munros. They've got the record for the most Munros run.
Right.
I think it was 82 or something. If it's more than that, I do apologise. Munro's run in 8 weeks. And they rate their races on how difficult they are, how boggy they are, and things like this. It was really quite an interesting blog to read. Well, they had run it, following on from something else. And she said, yeah, we've done it. This is what we did. This is our section on the blog. Give it a go. And it was like, oh, wow, it's doable.
Yeah.
So we followed their plan, much to my friend's amusement, because she then determined that I was really optimistic that we were going to do so many miles in so many days. I was like, yeah, we'd be right, we'd be fine. Yeah. Maybe I should have followed her lack of optimism. But we did it and thoroughly enjoyed it. Yes, there were blisters. Yes, there were sore feet. And yes, my friend is still cursing me. But he's joining me on the Cotswold Way, so can't be too bad.
So how many miles each day was that?
38, 36 and 26. That's how many miles it was. Unfortunately, my last 3 miles were spent in a taxi because as we were coming into Newcastle, one of the muscles in my glutes went into spasm and I wasn't walking anywhere. I tried to run and I tried to hobble and it wasn't having it. So those last 3 miles were spent in a taxi, which I was devastated, at the time absolutely devastated about. My friend, we said, go on, run it, you can do it. She was still on her first out. My other friend, his feet were a mess. So he got in the taxi with me and looking at her photos, I didn't miss much. And bless the taxi driver, took such care of us. He took great pity on us. and took us as close to the route as we could have run it in the taxi. So he said, "You have done it."
Yeah, up the
So-
A69.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it was. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, where where the A69 crosses the A1, the A1's the main
Yeah,
road
yeah,
up
yeah.
into Newcastle.
Yeah.
And where it crosses the Tyne, and then
Yes.
the A69 goes across it.
Yeah.
That's where I used to live. Right there.
Ah, no, we were past that by the time
Right.
we were picked. I couldn't even tell you where we were picked up, to be perfectly honest. By a canal and a park. That's all I know. And the time,
I'd have to think
and the
hard about
time
that
was
then.
there, and there was a really nice looking pub.
Yeah.
Because I remember thinking, have we got time?
Yeah.
So yeah. Unfortunately, if we'd had all the time in the world, I could have probably hobbled there eventually. But because we had to get back into Newcastle town centre to get our train home, we didn't have the luxury of time. But hey. But with the diversions and what have you, I still did my 84 miles.
Yep.
So I still did the distance.
Ah,
As far as I'm concerned, I completed it.
It's fantastic. I think it's an interesting thing to do with like a multi-day running adventure.
Yes.
Because rather than signing up to an event.
Yeah.
It's something I've got in mind to do. I'm kind of doing events and races at the moment because they're a very safe way of gaining experience.
Yes. You've got the support there.
Yeah.
My first ultra was with... Yes, I was running with friends who were experienced in ultra running, but we had no support.
Yeah.
We were on our own. The plus side is if you want to do one event like that, I can recommend doing Hadrian's Wall. For the simple fact there were so many honesty boxes on the way.
Yes, there are.
Stashed with so much stuff. We got to the end of the first day and there was an honesty shack. So there was a little shed and in it they had a fridge, a freezer, a microwave, a kettle, the works. They were fantastic. The people on the route so look after their walkers and runners. It was fabulous.
Yeah,
absolutely fabulous.
I walked most of it in the opposite direction when I was about 17.
Mm-hmm. Well, what we found is that from Corby onto Newcastle, there was nothing.
Yeah.
Gilswaite. Yeah, we stopped at Gilswaite and then went to Corby. So that second day walk was absolutely beautiful because that's all the traditional Hadrian's Wall. You actually saw the wall and it was all like this and it was just beautiful. Trouble was it had all the tourists as well because it's traditional Hadrian's Wall country. Had very little except for the shop at Homestead, which we're very grateful for. But on that first from Berwick-on-Tweed over was packed with these honesty boxes. Granted, we were at the very beginning of the season, so some of them weren't open, but they cater for you.
Yeah,
they really do. And at Wallsend, there was a fabulous bed and breakfast we stayed in, and we had a huge breakfast before we started. Then at Gilswaite, the hotel was something out of Faulty Towers. It was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. We got there just as the meal was about to finish, and they were that concerned that we should eat something. We were ushered into the dining room, and I was like, "No, let's get the keys. Please let me just sort this out." And then they'd forgotten to even include us on the dinner list, even though I had said, "Can we please have dinner? We'll see what we can find." How about a full roast dinner? Okay, fine. Let's do that. It was just, something. It was Faulty Towers. It really, really was, with the ballroom and everything. It was Faulty Towers. It was great. So if you want to do that, I can recommend that one.
Sounds like a bit of a laugh.
It was hilarious. I'm sure there were times that was tough. But the three of us just all clicked, and it was such good fun. Such good fun. But yeah, I can recommend that one. That was really good. Really good. But you can play Beauty in the Blog for that, and the Bog for that one. Absolutely.
Yep. So, from what I recall, because I was snooping around your history, as you know, you've done a few other things, and I don't know how much, if any of them are, you obviously, if you see them as key part of your story, but the Race to the Stones is the other really interesting one that I picked out.
That was again my midlife crisis, I think. It looked good on paper, and in reality they were fab. They were so well organised. again, if somebody's venturing into ultras, I would recommend that company, the Threshold company, because again, we were all so well looked after. There were plenty of pit stops on the way. The med team was superb, especially as I did it on the hottest weekend in July. By the time I started at 8:30 in the morning, it was already scorching. And because it's along the old Ridgeway, there was no shelter, and it's all chalk downs. Yep. So it was lethal from that point of view. Excuse me. It was hot. It was very, very hot, and we were all very well looked after. Yeah.
So
that game was 2 days. 2 days. So I did 33 on the first day and 32 on the second day. And the Ridgeway is a lot more undulating than I realised.
Yes.
Looking at we're used to Yorkshire, come on, we're used to hills.
Yeah.
So I looked at and it was like, oh, I can do that. That's a lot more tiring than that.
Yes.
A lot more tiring, and I hadn't appreciated that. Hadn't trained for that because I'm a bit limited to it around here.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some of that when I did the Hardmore 60 last September. There's a section of that, and it is, as you say, it's literally going up and down every few metres.
Yeah.
And luckily, that was the one section I had time to recce.
Yeah.
So I'd at least ran it once.
Yes.
Well, I ran it out and back.
Yeah.
Is my one recce that I'd done. So at least I had a little bit of experience on it. But yeah, that was like you say, it's surprisingly tiring.
Yeah, I hadn't, obviously with it being down in Oxfordshire, I hadn't recce'd any of it.
Yeah.
A friend of mine lives down there, and he'd pointed out bits of, well, in that church there they have a tap, here they have this, and here they have that, so I kind of knew what was ahead. And at one point we came along the Thames, and there were people swimming. I thought, that looks good. Would anybody mind?
Yeah, well, we weren't quite swimming, but May last year when I did the Lakeland 3-day event, there's a few river crossings on that, where normally river crossing, you're trying to get through as dry as possible. No, we were just, by the second day, we were just standing in there for a while. And sitting in there, and the odd lie down, and
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, even in May in the Lake District, it was hot.
Well, after doing Hadrian's Wall, we did it.
So I've lost the picture.
Oh no,
there we go. Got it back.
Hadrian's Wall, we did the first May Day bank holiday.
Yeah.
So I hadn't really. First day didn't bother much with Sundown Ocean because it was slightly overcast. I got tan marks because I wore 3/4 length trousers. So from all summer, I've had tan marks all the way down my leg, because that's where I caught and burnt. We learned that P50, the stuff that you put on once and leave on, is your friend.
Yes.
It really is your friend. So I had that slathered on for the Ridgeway, so I didn't get sunburnt. Although a friend of mine picked me up at mile 14 where I was feeling a bit, this is hot, I don't feel right, I've just had food, I don't like it, it's not sitting right, I want to go home. How are you feeling? I'm going home, I'm dropping out. Why? Let's start with your head. No, we won't bother with your head. We'll move down. Bother with your head. Arms, fine. Back, fine. Legs, fine. Feet, fine. I'm hot. Give us your backpack. Take your top off. What? I can't take my top off. And I was more concerned about exposing the white belly than I was anything else. Give us your rucksack. Top off. Okay. Ice cream. Yes, please. Yeah, so I discovered ice cream and Coca-Cola are my friends. They got me through.
Yep.
Got me through. But the scenery was amazing. The views were fantastic. It really were, but it was tough going because of the heat.
Yes.
I couldn't get over how much it saps you.
Yeah,
really did.
That's why I didn't sign up to any races after May through till mid-September. And even when I did the Hardmore 60 in mid-September, it was too hot. Like, what's going on?
I know, it's a bit mad this year. It really was.
It was really, really hot.
Well, I couldn't pull out because there's two reasons I couldn't pull out. I'd already signed up to it in the September before, so I got it before the price rise because, come off it, I'm married to a Yorkshireman. What more do I need to say? And I couldn't be home on the Sunday night because it would meant I would have had to take my daughter to see Little Mix.
That's a good reason
because
to run
I'd
a
already
long way.
Yeah, because I'd already had that debate of, well, I'm sorry, I've already signed up for it. I couldn't then wuss out. So, yeah, at mile 14, I had a Metacol for a slap around by my friends, and off we went. But I would say, don't try and do an ultra on your own. I thought I'd be fine. No, I don't need support. I'll be fine. I was so glad of them. So glad of them.
Yeah, I mean, I found that, I've run big sections alone, run sections with people, but since I've run more races, and it's not just ultras, but going along and having people recognise you and have a chat, it's amazing how much it lifts you.
Definitely. Definitely.
Even more so when people come there specifically to see you.
Yeah.
But just I'm in some of the races I do now, there's just somebody at the side of the road who's predominantly there to see somebody else.
Yeah.
But they recognise me when I go past.
Yeah, so they cheer you on.
And it's very lifting.
Definitely.
It really is.
This is why I'm finding being a member of a club is really nice, because you often find that there are other club members doing, especially local races, doing local races. But then the more races you do, the more local events that you do, you get to recognise more people.
Yep.
From other clubs, you get chatting and all the rest of it. So when you do other races, you chat to them and other people with them, so you get to know more people, so you get more support.
You do.
It's really lovely. Really lovely.
That reminds me, when I went along to do the White Rose Ultra in November, there's a guy there, and I says to him, I'm sure I know your face.
Yeah.
You look very familiar. I'm going to introduce myself. Let's have a chat. And there was this strange website sort of group where we'd recognised each other from called Team Huddersfield.
Dodgy site, that one.
Yeah. But it turned out in the end that's where we definitely knew each other from there.
That's interesting. Next time, take photos and put it on, please. Sorry, if you don't know what it is, Team Huddersfield is a Facebook group open to any runner in the Huddersfield area. There is a site similar for Barnsley, and I must admit that's where I nicked the idea from, with their permission. So it's open for anybody, regardless of whether you're an ultra runner, whether you've been running for decades, or whether you're a newbie. It's open to you all, and the idea is that we all support each other. And it does mean that when you turn up at races, yes, because I certainly know, I know there's quite a few going to the Dewsbury 10K this week, if it's on. And they've all said, hi, we're doing it. Make yourself known to each other so you can support each other. It just makes that net worth a little bit bigger, good. And it works.
Yes, it does work. And
it does work.
It's great. Not feeling like everyone else knows what they're doing and I'm all on my own. Yeah. Which is how everyone feels on the first few races, or the first fell race, or the first ultra.
Yes. I'll never forget my first proper fell race. I was on my own. It was an A1, so it was short, but it was like this. And I remember running up, it was over by Dovestones Reservoir, and I remember running up thinking, I'm not at the top. And I'm sure there was a collie dog at the top laughing at me. I'm sure of it. But there was a group of people I'd been talking to before I set off. Yes, they'd finished miles before me, but they waited for me to finish and cheered me in. And it was such a boost that I thought, actually, you guys are really friendly. I've not had this on road races, but on the fells, they tend to look after each other. And I think we can do that more with road races. And certainly Team Huddersfield, when races are coming up, especially local races, I've asked who's doing it for that very reason.
Yes.
So people can touch base. And I certainly know that with my club race, Traveller 6, or who's doing it, come and say hi. And I've met quite a few people on there. So then when I've done other races, people have come over and said hello.
Yeah.
It's been really, really lovely.
Yeah, no, it
really
is
lovely.
Good. Yeah, because obviously the last one I did, the Spine Challenger,
yeah.
It's a bit of a big race.
Yeah.
And every time you see somebody and they recognise you and say your name, it just lifts you so much. And especially when you're going into checkpoints, and the volunteers or staff in the checkpoint, when they know you and give you,
brilliant!
It feels like special treatment. It's nothing different to what they do for anybody else. But when you come in there and they have a vague idea who you are and speak to you by name, and I'm terrible at recognising other people, especially when I'm in running gear and then they're in a big coat or whatever.
Yes.
It's like, thanks a lot. I've no idea who you are.
Yes. Yeah, if you put them in running gear, you probably recognise them.
It's different when you both rock up in running gear.
I recognise you. Yes.
Yeah, but and it is brilliant, which is why when we bumped into each other and started talking in Accelerate, and you mentioned Team Huddersfield, and I was like, I'll sign up to that.
Brilliant. We've had there's about 300 odd people join up, which is really cool.
Yeah.
All you've got to do is find it. It should be quite easy to find. Press a like and I approve or disapprove. I haven't disapproved anyone. There's a couple I've watched because I just think, hang on, you've got no There's nothing connected with running in your profile. I'm just going to keep an eye on you just to make sure you're not spamming or phishing. But the people, so far, I've only had one person that I've had to say, we're not your advertising site, let's take this down. But other than that, everyone's behaving.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm happy for people to advertise races and all sorts. And I know a friend of mine recently posted about the running event she went to in Birmingham, the big conference where she met everybody by the looks of it. But it's a way of sharing ideas on what's out there.
Yes.
Especially for those of us that are new to running or you're returning it. We don't always know what's available, what races are out there or what's local.
Yeah.
And so it's an opportunity for everyone to share their knowledge and grow, basically.
It's really good, and it's good to find people like yourself that are willing to, because it does take a little bit of looking after, as you say.
Yeah.
It needs somebody to take that on and have that little bit of responsibility, and that's really good.
Responsibility is a bit strong word there. I check on it to make sure it's behaving.
Yeah.
I've never claimed any responsibility for anything in my life. No.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So the reason we spoke recently about you coming on to do the podcast is because you recently did the
Brass Monkeys. Yes.
Half marathon.
I did.
And it was a little faster than your previous.
A lot faster than my previous. My PB for my half marathon was 2 minutes 9, and that was the Severn Bridge half in South Wales. If you don't know it, it starts in Chepstow.
Sorry, you just said 2 minutes 9.
Sorry, super fast. Mo Farah, watch out. 2 hours 9 minutes. Sorry, I was getting carried away. Can I have 2 minutes 9? It sounds far better.
Yeah,
thank you.
I wish.
2 hours 9 minutes. It starts in Chepstow, goes over the Severn Bridge, the old Severn Bridge, loops around a very posh area of Bristol, and then goes back over the Severn Bridge. And it was a challenge that I think between me, my brother, and my sister. So the three of us ran it. And my brother was giving it the big lips, as my brother does. He abandoned me and my sister at 3 miles, subtly telling us that we were being far too slow for him and we weren't good enough. So he abandoned us in a barrage of abuse, with the last shout being, "Oi, you've forgotten something." "What?" "My timing chip." That was from my sister. And then quite a few of the others around, "And mine." So off he went. I lost my sister at 5 miles as she had to pay a visit, because unfortunately, being ladies, we have to go behind things. And I thought, I can't stop and wait for her because I'm going to get cold, I'm going to get stiff, so I had to keep going. So I kept going down, round, back over the bridge, and at about 10.5 miles, we were all wearing the same slatey blue t-shirt. I thought, I recognise that t-shirt. Okay, keep going. Maybe it's not. Got closer and I thought, he's limping badly. So caught up with my brother. Because he'd set off too fast, he pulled the hamstring and was having to hobble. So I checked on him, made sure he was all right, see if there was anything he needed. Gave him a kiss on the cheek and said, "See you at the end," and left him to it. To then finish to the cheers of everyone as you came back over the bridge, and next to the bridge is a big industrial estate. So you finished on the industrial estate. To my dad whistling. My dad stood in front of me and was like, "Dad, do you mind? PB, out the way!" My dad's not a runner. My dad's not a sport person. He didn't have a clue what I was on about. But either way, he stepped out the way. So I finished, started my stretches. My brother then hobbled in. Bless him, he had really pulled his hamstrings. And then my sister at 2 hours 20, which was great. But my mother had missed me completely. So she was still stood there waiting. And my husband and the kids were, "Come on, Granny." And she was like, "Well, what about Abbie?" She sat over there stretching. "Don't tell her I've missed her. Don't tell her I've missed her." But it's amazing what sibling rivalry can do to get forward. So that was my PB of 2:09. Then I signed up. Well, I got a place at Brass Monkeys, and I dragged poor Femi with me. And I said, "We'll do a 10-minute mile." "Yep, we'll do a 10-minute mile, but we're good." Somehow neither of us ended up doing 10-minute miles, and it kind of reduced to about 9.5 minutes. And somehow I got 2 hours, 1 minute and 45 seconds. And I'm over the moon with my PB, don't get me wrong, but I'm also a bit, where can I improve next time to lose that 1:45? Femi, I don't think, is quite forgiven me. She finished, she got a PB to 2 hours, 5 minutes. And I know, sorry Femi, 10 minutes didn't happen, did it? I know. So she steered with a PB, but she was cursing me big time at the time. So yeah, just a little bit chuffed with that one. It's a nice flat course, but it had got quite a bit of wind at it. You come to about mile 6 and you're there, and there was wind blowing across the York Dales, or the York Vale, sorry. But it's flat. The only bit of hill is over a bridge. That's the 100-metre gain, the entire race.
So have you been doing anything different training-wise? Heading into that?
I'd lost weight. I've lost 1.5 stone. And all I'd done to do that was follow Weight Watchers and reduce carbs. I've been working with a coach from Accelerate called Stuart, and we've been basically improving my overall technique, my overall strength, and basically teaching me to run. Because you're taught to swim, you're taught to ride a bike, you're never taught to run. So I got a load of bad habits. I was overstriding. The main problem was I was leaning forward and overstriding, and my posture was shocking when I was running. So I've worked with him before, probably for about 18 months now. So I was working with him to the build-up of my ultras to get me ready for those, because I didn't really have a clue how to train or where to start. So he got me built up for those, and then when those were finished, I had recovery time, which took me to about September, and then we started to improve my 10k distances, build up my strength and my technique. So we introduced strength work, we've introduced drills, and we've been more specific with the training. So that, and then the weight loss, something has just clicked, because I noticed when I did the Chester Metric Marathon, which is 26.2 kilometres rather than miles. Great little race, actually, really lovely race. Again, it's quite low key compared to the marathon that's got quite a few thousand people in it. There's only 1,000, and it's an out and back race, but you still go through the centre of Chester. So you go under through the iconic bridge, like they do for the marathon, and then you finish by going along the waterfront there. But it's just a lovely distance. It's just that little bit further than a half, but not too much further that you're getting shattered. It was just lovely. I finished it. I really enjoyed that. There's one big hill at around mile 14, but you've got people running with you. If you're looking like you're flagging, they run up with you.
Nice.
They call them hill angels.
Nice.
Very nice, that one. They had them at the Brass Monkeys to get you over the bridge. The bridge, because of the incline, get you over the bridge. And I noticed then that I had really reduced my half marathon time for this year. My half marathon time, and I thought, oh, hang on. And then when I did Brass Monkeys, then I did Traveller's 6 before Christmas, and got my 6 miles down to 55 minutes, 40 seconds, I think it was. I've never done a 10k in just under an hour before. And then whilst doing Brass Monkeys, I decreased it further to get, I can't remember what it was, but either way it was reduced again. So I think it's improved technique.
Yes.
Definitely improved technique.
Yeah. Well,
it has helped with everything.
So I think it's an interesting thing to talk about. We're not going to try and teach anybody technique by us having a chat. Just if you could mention some of the things that you've worked on, if you don't mind.
I've worked on my stride length, so I've reduced it, because when you overstride, you're overbalancing. So by reducing my stride length, I've then running taller, so it's improved the overall posture. So I'm ergonomically more effective. The strength has just made my core stronger, so I'm no longer running all over the shop. So those are the key things I think that I've worked on. And then drills. Drills are just peculiar, but they seem to work. You look an absolute pilchard whilst you're out doing them. You really, really do. I know I've done them with some of my Thursday group at Denby Dale, and we're back and forth across the car park. And some of the men that come out of the, because we go from the Pie Hall, which is a club, working men's type club, but it's open to anybody. And they've been sat there going, so who's been drinking this lot? You or us? So drills, if you haven't done any of them or haven't come across any, I know there's a load of YouTube videos up there. Unfortunately, I don't know any of the proper names, because I work on the names that Stuart's given me. And he's told me that none of them are the proper names, but it's what they look like. So high knees, flamingos, hot flamingos, fast feet, to name but a few.
Yep.
But I know Running World did quite a few YouTube videos on the importance of doing drills.
Yes.
So they are readily available, but certainly introducing drills into everyday life is, everyday running is certainly a must.
Yeah, I strongly agree with all of those, because like my running was getting better and better through last year, and like in some ways kind of peaked at the Hardmoor 60 in September. That was going really well, and then I pushed on to the White Rose 60, and then I think it was a week or 2 weeks after that when we did a little run together, and I was going to start training for the spine then, and I think it was the day after that, it was either the day after or the week after, when I went out and did another run with a pack on, I hurt my knee. And the reason I hurt my knee was because I'd started doing less and less strength training, because my running was going so well. I started thinking, I'm fine.
I don't need it.
When I go to the gym and do that strength stuff, it hurts in weird places. When I run, nothing hurts. Until the point when something really hurt.
Yes, because it keeps.
And then I went and did a lot of strength work. So the strength work, and I really saw the value of having somebody show me how to do that properly. A guy called Simon Courtney at HD3 Fitness. Simon's got a 2-hour. I'll do him an injustice if I wrongly quote his time. He's got a fast London Marathon time anyway.
Great.
Fast. He only runs road stuff mostly.
Right.
Well, in fact, the we both did that South Huddersfield.
Oh yeah, the Road and Trail series.
Yeah. That the last one, what was it? Stairway to Heaven or something, was it?
Yeah.
He did the shorter one of the two.
Right.
He finished first or second in that. Can't remember whether he won it or whether he came second, but
chances are, if he's done the rest of them, I would have given him his number. So chances are I have actually met him.
Yeah, but yeah, he's a very good runner. He's a personal trainer, and he specialises in strength and conditioning. So I think it's well worth finding somebody like that who can help you with the strength stuff, and also he helped me with drills. Yes, which until this is now like mid-November. And I'd never done drills before in my life. No. And what I really found the drills helped me with, in the they kind of instantly help you with your technique. They do. But what I found is getting into deep into the spine, where I'm really tired, and at some point you notice your technique's falling apart. Yes. Having done the drill means you can mentally slap yourself about the face. Yes. And you've got the muscle memory to pull back. It's not going to be as good a technique as when you're fresh. No. But you pull back to that good technique. Yes. I agree with that, because I can't remember which race I was doing, but I noticed that everything had gone, and I thought, come on, you know better than that. Yes. Walk, skip, jog, and then it comes back in, just to hang on. Exactly. Yes, you're tired. Yes, you slipped. Let's and pick up again. It's like the Karate Kid wax on, wax off stuff, isn't it? It is. Oh, it's very much so, that sort of stuff. I also know that Phil Hansen at Homeford Harriers does a group on a Monday at 7:30 from their centre. I can't remember the name of it, I'm afraid, but that's open to anybody as well. Not just Homeford Harriers, but he worked on strength and all the rest of it. Yeah. And it's definitely worth doing. Because again, with the strength, excuse me, there's a little bit of course, if you've got more strength, you can, if you're going to sprint faster, you can run faster with more strength. But even when you're not, trying to just increase your peak speed, by having more power there, you're running with a lower percentage of what's possible. Yes. Which means you can maintain it for longer. You don't fatigue so quickly either. Exactly. So but the other thing is that when the core and the gluteal muscles are all strong, the rest of you is stronger, because your foot at the end of the day is at the end of the chain. Yes. So if this isn't strong, that's not going to be strong either. So you need a strong... Yeah. And in theory, I knew this,
I do it day in, day out, and I tell patients to do it, but I hadn't applied it. So to patients who are injured, yes, I can apply it very easily, but I wasn't injured, so why would I apply it to me? So I hadn't applied it to me, so I needed somebody else to go, you need to do.
Yes.
And it does the trick.
Yeah, and the thing that slapped me about and said you need to do was because my knee started hurting a lot, and I thought, hold on, sort yourself out.
Yeah.
You know you should be doing certain things. Stop messing about thinking you might or might not be. Go and find the right people that can show you,
Absolutely.
and you can be sure about it.
And I think we're very lucky in Huddersfield that there are the people around here
Yes.
that can show you and will show you. And
yeah,
there's quite a lot of very, very skilled people that will put us all back in the right direction if need be. Most definitely.
So one other thing training related that I was interested to ask you as well is how fast are you running on training runs?
How fast? It depends on my training run. It really does depend.
Good.
If Stuart's watching this, it really does depend what my programme says. Honest. It really does depend on my training run. But I also take into account how I'm feeling. So even if for last night, my plan said, you're going to run for an hour. And I went, no, I'm not, I'm going to bed. I'm not feeling it tonight. I'm going to bed. But where I ran this morning. So I don't know how, this is the other thing now that with working with a coach to improve everything, I don't run on speed. I run on heart levels.
Yep.
So I haven't got a clue how fast I'm running because I'm there with my watch going, what level am I? I've just had them tweaked. He's put them up by 5 beats per each band. I can hit just below it or I can hit way above it. So I'm just trying to get used to my new bands at the moment. I should wear a heart rate monitor as well, but I kind of sometimes forget to put that on. But then again, I think it's a bit more comfortable for a lady because we've got bras to keep them in place. It works a treat. So it really does depend. So today, for example, I had 15 minutes at level 2, which for me is between 140 and 150 beats per minute. And then 10 minutes at level 3 with 6 1-minute sprints. Well, it was frosty and it was icy. So I clumped the sprints all together and just increased to level 4 because I was like, there's no way I'm sprinting on that. I'm going to end on my bum. Not happening. And then 15 minutes at level 1 to cool down. Yep. So that was my training run for today. Tomorrow I'm doing my long run and it'll be level 2. I won't go up or over level 2. Yep. And then on Sunday, it's also about another hour, which I think I'm level 3. Yep. I think. But it's all trail tomorrow. So it's going to be a bit more tomorrow and Sunday, so it's going to be a bit more interesting. So, as for how fast?
No, well, it was,
it depends what point
a loaded or / trick question.
Yeah.
Because, the point is that the heart rates.
Yeah, for me, that's
the thing.
Yeah. This is where I've learned so much working with somebody who knows their stuff.
Yes.
Because I didn't realise the importance of the heart rate. When I trained for London, I did it solo. I had no idea what L1, L2, L3 meant next to the plan that I was following. I just ran the distances. I'd like to do it again to see how much I've improved.
Yep.
But it has to be London in order to compare like to like. But hey.
Yeah, but for an exact comparison, it would have to be on the same weather, the same temperature.
It would. Look, I ran in perfect weather. It was glorious. It was fab. So can't complain to that really. But the one that is interesting for me and does compare is Coniston 14 because I've done it 3 times in a row now this year with my 4th year. And I'm doing it again in March. And that is basically the lap of the lake. It's 14 miles. And we do it every year. But my godmother lives on Lake Coniston, so I kind of get spoiled completely, and it's wonderful. The run's the excuse.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But we found, this will be my 3rd year this year. The first year I did it, I really probably shouldn't have run it because I'd flown downstairs the week before. Say what I said, don't do what I do, just do what I say. And it had ended me on crutches for a few days. But hey, it was fine. We got round in 3 hours odd. It was a horrendous time and I was in quite a bit of pain at the end of it. I knocked half an hour off because I was able to run it.
Yep.
And I felt great by the end of it. So this year it's going to be interesting to see where I've come again.
Yep.
It's going to be an interesting one. It is going to be an interesting one. But yeah, definitely run on heart rate. But what I hadn't realised was the kind of triangle of training. Get the base levels right.
Yes.
And your levels 4 and 5, you don't really train in. 1 and 2 are your main training levels.
Yes, absolutely.
And that is where your heart rate is basically, depending on how fit you are. Mine at the moment is, my level 1 is 130 to 140. Mm-hmm. Whereabouts is yours? Or
I haven't done sort of really accurate measurements of it. Partly, it's something I need to do now in my next phase of training, because the last thing I've been training for is a long ultra, and if I ran at a pace where I was stayed in level 2 for the entire race, I'd have placed in the race.
Yeah.
So I didn't need to do, it's still worthwhile doing a little training faster than that. But you really, you're fooling yourself if you're running around faster than that when that's as fast as you need to go in the race.
Yes.
So I really, really focused on just staying within level 1 and 2.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's harder said than done.
Oh, it is hard because
it's really hard.
Something I've been explaining to people. I'm reasonably fit. I can run at a decent pace.
Yeah.
To stay in level 2, I'm walking up hills.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. And it's like, what?
And I was talking to somebody because one of the ways of, being very, sort of, because not everyone has a heart rate monitor, and so you can say, well, it's a conversational pace, level 1 and 2. You can hold a conversation, and that's, it's a reasonable approximation.
Yeah.
And people say, I can hold a conversation, but they stop talking when they run up the hill.
Yeah. There you're out of your level.
And you've gone. And it's so easy to slip out like that. This is why I kind of like talking about the fact that, look, genuinely, I'm walking up the hills to stay in those levels. Because we did a podcast with a guy, Carl Howells, he's called. We did Spartathlon again last year. Spartathlon, it's the original ultra from Sparta.
Oh, wow.
From Athens to Sparta.
Wow.
And it's a very fast race.
Yeah.
Really harsh cut-offs.
Yeah.
You have to be really fast. It's 160 miles, and you have to run 160 miles.
Okay, maybe not yet then.
He's done it for the second time. He's just done the Viking Way Ultra, which is, I think it's 172 miles, and he finished 4th.
Wow.
He never runs up a hill.
No.
Ever.
No.
Even in training. And he's very relaxed about it. Adam and I were chatting about it. And I'm not sure if he appreciates, and I'm going to get him back on so we can talk about this. He's away again this weekend doing one of those. Well, in fact, the Viking Way Ultra is one of the ones that it's not advertised. You need to know where to find it. Ultras, which is what he's into now.
Yes.
He does some of the really hardcore stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he knows, actually appreciates the science behind what he's doing. What he's doing is absolutely right.
Yeah, but then it works for him.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't always need to know the science because that can cloud it.
Yeah, exactly.
But for some people to understand why they have to do it.
Yeah, but
it helps.
When I had him on, I was talking to him about it. I was thinking like, what? That's all, but you never run up a hill, not even in training.
No.
But now, since learned more about the science and realised, no, that's right.
Yes,
that's how you should be.
Yes, and that's something I'm starting to get my head around. That actually, it's all right to walk up hills.
Yes,
it's all right to walk in your training runs and actually on the race itself, especially the longer distance one. Because I was just like, you walk up hills? Yeah. Really? Okay. Yeah, it's all very different. Yeah, anything over your marathon it's a very different ball game. Yeah. Really, really a different kettle of fish.
Yeah. Yeah. It took 10 hours off my PB.
Yay! That's phenomenal. That's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, but again, I think there was about 150 people started the Challenger.
Yeah. It's a huge dropout rate.
14th overall.
Yeah. Oh, well done.
So that's not bad, is it?
Pretty brilliant, actually.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get over the dropout rate. So I was dot watching all week that week. And then when you finished, of course, Jasmine, it's between you and Jasmine Paris. It's like, oh, yeah, you're fine. Sorry. Jasmine, where's she? Yeah. And as for that Wednesday, I was watching the spot in between patients. She's almost finished. She's getting there. She's almost finished. She's finished! Unfortunately, there were other people in my practice that were just like, and?
Yeah.
What do you mean, and? She's
phenomenal.
Because
phenomenal. My plan had been to do the challenge. I have a couple of days off and then go onto the checkpoints. So I had the week booked off work.
Yeah.
As it was, I got injured. I couldn't drive. I couldn't leave.
Oh, great.
So I had to drop out of going to the checkpoints.
Yeah.
However, I didn't cancel my leave from work.
No.
I sat and dot watched all week. It was brilliant.
Fab. No,
you know, if you're going to be injured, that's a good time.
I'm sorry, spine. Can you get actually cameras on them, please, so we can see what's going on as well?
They're weight. They have weight.
No, it's for them to sort out with the drone to follow you all the way around. Okay, yeah. That's what I'm saying. For them, not for you to carry, for them to sort out.
No,
not for them to carry. Not for you guys to carry. You would enough.
Too heavy.
Yeah, you guys had enough. No, for the drones to follow you.
Yeah.
So we can actually see it real time.
I mean, this time I have to say it was really good. The amount of Facebook Live they were doing at the finish.
Yes.
Almost. Yes. In fact, it may have been everybody. Well, certainly, almost everybody that finished the spine. There were Facebook Live in them. I've watched yours because you shared it with us all, but I must admit I hadn't realised that until the one with Jasmine was posted, and I hadn't realised it was everybody until somebody else shared. I was like, oh, I don't know about that before. It was a good week to be injured. What sort of cheer everybody in from whichever seat I was on with my leg elevated.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's lots of cheering going on for Jasmine on that day. Yeah. Phenomenal. Yeah. But I'd like to see how she trains and her heart rate levels. And Nikki Spinks, the other lady, I'd like to speak to about all that, to see how that's going on, how she does it as well. Yeah,
well, the other lady that I met, because she's a friend of a friend, I met her before the race, and then she was actually the next finisher after me, is Jen Scotney,
right?
Who's really nice lady, and did phenomenally well. And actually, that was one of the things I was really happy about in the race. Never want to put anybody down, but it's the first time I've finished a race ahead of somebody I've heard of.
Hey!
Because Jen Scotney's, she's a sponsored Montane athlete.
Yeah.
And I finished 3 hours ahead of her.
Brilliant.
It's like, wow.
That's the other thing I kind of get my head around, that for marathon running, anything basically under a marathon distance, men and women are separated. Your times are, yes, the final results all together, but your times are actually compared, not against each other.
Yes.
Ultras, but it's been shown with the spine that women can do as well, if not better, than the men.
Yeah, well, I mean, Courtney DeWalter did it last year in the Moab.
Yes, she did, didn't she?
She finished 10 hours of the second place guy.
Yes, yes.
So I mean, there's phenomenal people.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal, and it's good to see what people can do. Well, I'm very interested, following people like Jasmine, because I've got a daughter, and what a great time to be inspired by people like that.
Absolutely, most definitely. Unfortunately, my daughter's gone. It's a runner. Not interested.
Yeah, mine's a little like that at the moment. I keep telling her about one of the Coast Guard now, what used to be RAF Rescue. One of the helicopter pilots, a lady called Liz. She's a phenomenal pilot, keeps saying to Ellen, "Oh yeah, that rescue we were on last night was Liz flying the helicopter."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's
brilliant. Yeah. Build up the jobs that just aren't on men. Ladies can do them too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes. Almost definitely.
So, as I mentioned earlier,
yes.
Just by coincidence, I was talking to a new runner friend of mine today, and she had a few questions for us to discuss.
Yes.
And we thought it would be good rather than me just boring her with my answers all the time. So our first question was, how long to get ready for a half marathon from zero?
From zero, well...
Now, she's gone from not running to... she's done as far as 12k within January.
Ooh, okay.
And she's asking, is that going a bit too fast?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Potentially, because I very much advocate and very much love the couch to whatever distance, because I now know they do couch as far as the marathons, which is, it started with couch to 5k, so it's an NHS based program initially to encourage people to become more active. So as parkrun took off and more people were doing parkrun, they noticed that actually quite a few people could be becoming injured because they were trying to do too much too soon. So the couch to 5k was initially developed to introduce people to running, to enable them to build up gradually and get to that distance. So they now do, they said they do couch to 5k, couch to 10k, couch to half marathon, and then couch to marathon. So it paces everything beautifully, and you can repeat weeks if you need to. So if you've had a cold, if you've been ill, you've been away, whatever, it doesn't matter, you can repeat the week before and move up and down the scale. It can also be used for rehab as well. So I've got a friend of mine who, unfortunately, she was badly injured, and it knocked her out of running completely. She's now mended and fixed, but she's been sensible because she was out for nearly 12 months. Even though she was running for years before, she's gone back and done the couch to 5k and is now able to run comfortably and uninjured. So to go, I said, whether it's too fast or not, it depends on the individual, depends on the level of fitness beforehand.
Yeah, she's an active person. She's a climber.
So she's got the strength.
She's got the strength, which
if you've gone
is an
from,
important thing.
If you've gone from the couch potato to that in a month, I'd say, whoa,
Exactly.
We're going way too fast.
Yeah.
But she's got the background strength. So for her, it's merely building up the endurance and building up the new muscle strength, the new muscle memory. But she will have her core strength.
Yes.
Which will set in really, really good stead. So for her, it may not be too fast, but I would be looking at following a program then as she builds up to the marathon distances. I certainly know when I did my first marathon, it took me 16 weeks to build up to the half marathon distance.
Yep.
And I'd really only gone from a very poor 5k at that point upwards. You can do it in as little as 12 weeks.
Yeah, I think I took, because I started running in sort of end of July, August time, and I took until the June before I did a half marathon.
Yeah.
Now I was ready before that.
Yes.
I was properly ready, and I did a reasonable time on it. But yeah, I had built up, but then I went fairly quick. Well, from June then till September, I think it was, to do a marathon, and then 4 weeks to do an ultra.
Yeah, okay, maybe not the way forward.
No, I started going a bit silly from that. I thought I'd done it quite well.
Yeah.
Up to the marathon.
You had.
I was ready for the marathon, but then I started going a bit silly.
Yeah, but you can do that. That's the problem. That's the problem when you finish a race and you think you're invincible. You then sign up for other races and they get longer, and you think, oh dear. Excuse me. So thinking about it, it was probably 12 weeks actually, because it was the end of May that I had the race, the 5k race, and decided that I could do a half marathon. So I had June, July, August, and then it was the first weekend of September that I did the Great North.
Yeah. And
felt really comfortable by the end of it. Yes, you could probably do it on less training, but you wouldn't enjoy it and you wouldn't feel comfortable.
No, well, that's right. I mean, when I did my first half marathon, which was a long time ago, because I ran a bit. I did a couple of half marathons, then got injured, fell out with running.
Yes.
And then it was years later that I've come back to it. But when I did my very first half marathon, the furthest I'd run before it was 6 miles. Mm-hmm. And I ran it fast.
Yep.
And it's still my half marathon PB. Although I haven't done as easy a one again, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because I only run hilly and trail stuff these days.
Yeah. Well, that's where you need to do the brass monkeys. It's flat and road. There's nothing to it.
Yeah, I'll be thrown up before the end of it because I'll push myself too hard. But kind of the point was, at the end of that, I was in agony.
Yeah, because you weren't prepared for it.
My body was not ready for it.
And how many weeks did it take you to get over it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really the thing. And actually, we're working on another podcast episode with my friend Sinead, who is an expert in this area. She's the lady I mentioned about the sports massages. We're going to do an episode about recovery.
Yeah, oh please.
Please. And it's going to be primarily focused where there's going to be more content on the video side than on the audio side, because we're going to show.
That's one thing as runners, again, we're not very good at.
Yes, because the point I was going to make is, when you're building up to try and go further, the key is, have you recovered before you go further?
Yes.
Now, the difficulty is when you're new to running, you don't know. You don't know by feeling. So it's something we'll discuss a lot more in the other episode of how can you know that you're recovered. I'm not sure. I'm not expert enough to explain it to a new runner. How they would. I know when I'm recovered.
Yes.
But actually, what I found when I got injured in November was, because I was forced to take some time off from running, I hadn't realised how tired I was.
No.
And because I'd run 2 60-mile races 5 weeks apart. I felt fine, but I'd just got used to being tired.
Yes.
And so I thought I was absolutely fine, and it was only when I was forced to take a break and I properly recovered, and I thought, oh wow, I can even think clearer.
Yes. Well, I'd done I did Hadrian's Wall in the May, and then I did Race to the Stones at the end of June, middle of July, and at the end of that I thought, I need a break now.
Yes.
No races. So I had a charity place for the Great North Run, and I said, I'm really sorry, I can't do it, I need a break. And it wasn't until the October that I still, actually, you've done right there. You really have. When I say race, I still did the Salt Cellar Fell Run, but I didn't race it.
Yes.
I thoroughly enjoyed the route. I got round it. Unfortunately, I spotted my coach at the top of by the Salt Cellars and got told off. But I was getting round to enjoy it and stretch my legs more than anything. So it's not a case of not running at all. No. But it's a case of being sensible. Yeah, because actually that's probably something that something Shell hasn't asked about, but we should probably mention, and something we'll do a whole section on about recovery, is rest days. Yes. But also, really badly named, because there should be active recovery days. Yes. But then also having days off written into your training plan. Yes. You need to have time off. You're allowed to have days off to give muscles a chance to recover, because you will through the very fact you're using them and pushing them, you will have lots and lots of micro tears within them. That's normal and nothing to panic about. Likewise with a bone, you don't break it, you don't damage it, you don't injure it, but it will still have some micro trauma to it because you're impacting on it. So you need to give those all chances, days in your week to recover. Yes. It doesn't necessarily do any good having everything every day. Or change it, or at least change your, if you're not one to sit down and do nothing, at least change your activity, so you're cycling or swimming, so you're not impacting, or climbing. Yes. Because it's using your body in a different way and will give things a chance to settle and heal. Yep. So our next question is, she's noticed her body shape changing already, getting toned. Yes. And that's when she said, should she slow down? Now for me, the body shape changing, that's fine. The body shape's going to change because you're using a different group of muscles in a different way. I think the only thing you've got to be careful of is if you're also dieting, you've got to be very careful. Yeah. Yes. You shouldn't be losing weight too fast. Now, if you're just eating a healthy diet and you're toning because of the running, I wouldn't see any problem with that at all. Yeah, and as long as there's nothing else going on. Yeah. So if she gets overly concerned that she's losing weight too quickly, she's picking up too many infections, she's generally feeling lethargic, she notices other signs and symptoms of problems, hair loss, like increased urination, that kind of thing, get bloods, make sure there's nothing else going on. Because unfortunately sometimes a change of activity, it doesn't necessarily trigger anything, but because you're using your body differently, it can highlight problems. Yep. So, if she notices anything weird and wonderful, please get it checked out. Yeah, good advice.
And she was asking about the restricted eating that I've been getting into, but I think we'll probably save that question for another podcast, because I'm looking for somebody that's an expert in that area to discuss it.
Yeah, it's not me.
No.
I don't restrict eating.
So the one that's that probably is right up your street is about shoes.
Oh, it should be, but it's the one that... Sorry, I hadn't stated earlier, I'm a podiatrist and I treat musculoskeletal conditions. It's the one that I should know lots about, but I won't give any advice about. For the simple fact, there is so many out there and they are changing so frequently that I would actually go to from my own personal experience, I find independent running shops far better than some of the more chain-related ones. I just feel that, I don't know, I've always had a better service from independents. They let you try things, there's no rush, I don't feel pressured. And they know what they've got, they know their stock, they know what's better for you. So I'm not the best.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm afraid
I wasn't thinking along the lines of naming any particular shoes at all.
No.
But I was just wondering if you might offer, from a sort of physiological point of view of the mechanisms that's going on in your feet while you're running.
I don't. Oh, there's a huge debate about all this going on within the world of podiatry, and not just in the world of podiatry, with the barefoot walking through to the...
Yeah, I've been reading about it.
Oh, dear. A couple of years ago, I went to a fabulous conference. Well, from my point of view, a fabulous conference. Everyone else probably found it really tedious. With Joe Hamill, who used to work for... Yeah, I am name dropping. Who used to work for Nike and designed some of the first Nikes back in the 80s. And he one of his opening statements was, "I'd like to apologise to all those joggers. We didn't know enough." And you find a shoe that works for you. It is trial and error.
Yep.
The only piece of advice I would give is look at the terrain you're running on, and fit the shoe appropriately and accordingly. So if you are fell running or trail running, please go for an off-road shoe rather than try and wear your road shoes, because you're going to fall on your ass. Mm-hmm. If you're going to road run, please don't wear your fell shoes or your trail shoes, because it hurts. You've got these spikes underneath and it gives you no support or anything whatsoever. But as for the styles, and what's good for one person might not be different. It also depends on your running style. So you have people who are 4-foot runner, so a certain shape and size of shoe will work for them. Wouldn't work for me because I'm a rear to mid-foot runner. Mm-hmm. So, no. There's no such.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's interesting because it's obviously at least what the foot itself is doing is something
what the foot itself does vary so much from person to person, and it can vary from what you do when you run to walk. Mm. It will also vary if you're tired or how far you're running. If you're sprinting, you're on your toes. If you watch Mo Farah do his 800 his distances, you find that at the very beginning, towards the middle, he's heel to toe gait. Very steady, very fluid heel to toe gait. When he's sprinting, he's on his toes. So it varies within the whole running pattern.
Yep.
So it depends what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It really does.
Absolutely.
It really, really does. But the only thing I would say is if you're cross-countrying and it's really muddy, spikes all the way. Because you dig your toes in and you ain't falling over. That's one piece of advice I will give. Especially after Keighley this year, which was a mud bath. It really was.
So it's somewhat related question. She's asking, are longer strides better or shorter, quicker ones?
Shorter, quicker ones, because you don't overstride, so you're not overpronating, so you don't lean forward. It's far more effective gait pattern. Far, far more effective gait pattern. And you actually cover more distance quicker than you do with a longer stride.
Yeah.
Yeah, short, sharp. Yeah. And this is where, back to your drills, you practice your high knees and your stepping and what have you, and it gets you into a better gait pattern.
Yeah.
So definitely. So with the footwear, the only thing I would say is please get assessed.
Yes. Get
assessed to see what's good for you.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, the first time I got sort of properly assessed for footwear, it was after I'd started running and started getting sore feet.
Yes.
And went to see somebody to get properly assessed. And I went up a full shoe size.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're
because I wasn't, my foot didn't have enough room to
you
move.
Expand
exactly
far more
and that's
than
why
you
it
do
was
when you're
hurting.
walking. Yeah, you keep banging your toes.
Yeah.
If you're going to do anything less than a marathon, anything less than a half marathon, half shoe size. If it's any distance more, a full shoe size.
Yeah.
An absolute full shoe size. And trainers are sized differently to your normal shoe anyway.
Yeah, and one brand to another brand are sized differently as well. So
it tends to go on the European shoe sizing rather than what we're used to as our 4, 5, 6, and that's changed it all completely as well. But please get assessed to find out what works for you. And you not only that, once you find what works and you've been running for a year, get reassessed.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of not doing so when I first started running. I was getting a lot of big toe pain because my feet flatten out and my toe was jamming. So I went into anti-pronatory insoles. And I kept getting lateral ankle sprains because it kept pulling me over. And I was getting fed up at this. And yeah, I should have known better. But again, don't apply it to yourself always, all the time. I got reassessed and I wear neutral now completely and I'm far more comfortable. But then everything's stronger. So I'm not reliant on the shoes themselves.
Yeah. And I've gone through exactly that.
Yeah.
And my first, especially my first off-road shoes, were a very supportive shoe.
Yeah.
Because at the time my feet were very weak.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm wearing very minimalist shoes.
Yeah.
But that's a process about a year and a half it's taken to that my feet have got stronger.
Did you wear that for the spine as well then?
Yeah.
Wow. Your feet weren't too bruised afterwards?
No.
Wow.
I mean, the kind of the final transition, because I'd worn a few different pairs of shoes. One of the issues that I've had is losing toenails.
Yeah.
So I did 4 or 5 ultras, and every time I'd lost toenails, just on the spine again.
Yeah.
Not a single blister, not a single bit of toe damage.
Brilliant.
Not a single hot spot.
Brilliant.
Anything at all. So I feel like I've got the right shoes at the moment.
It
doesn't mean to say it won't change.
No, but it also sounds like you got the right socks as well. Although shoes are important, socks are just as important.
Absolutely. So
they really are.
Again, I did a lot of experimentation with socks with those particular shoes.
Yes.
And also, because it's running in winter, I'm wearing more socks.
Yeah.
And so that's another half a shoe size.
Yes. Yeah, because they're thicker. Well, I made the big mistake when I was doing Race to the Stones. In my backpack, I had my thin socks for the first day. Second day, I won't need those. Put on a slightly thicker pair of socks. My feet swelled more.
Yeah.
I went for my day sack for my light socks. I've taken them out. Yeah. And I got blisters because the sock was too thick.
Yes. The other thing I found is, and this is where it starts to get kind of really specific, the type of material, not just the thickness, changes how much the sock slides either against another sock or against the shoe.
Yes.
And that was kind of the final steps of my experimentation. So what I ended up with was a pair of not the thinnest, but a thinnish, like summer running Injun G toe socks. Because that massively reduces blisters, especially between toes, where I used to get blisters all the time. Yep. So a thin pair of Injinji toe socks, as I say, not the thinnest, because I've got a pair of the really thin merino wool ones, but my foot slips more in those because I then needed a sock on for some warmth. Yes. Because I'm running in the middle of winter. Yeah. And then a waterproof sock over the top of that. Ah. And that combination, as I say, my feet were perfect at the end of the race.
Brilliant. I must admit, I used the Ingenie to do both Hadrian's Wall and Race to the Stones. Regards to overall rubbing and all the rest of it, I got nothing at Hadrian's Wall whatsoever. And the only reason I got that blister on Race to the Stones was purely because of the heat and the swelling in the foot. And that was somewhere at the back of the heel.
Well, so I've now got different thicknesses of socks for different times of the year for that kind of reason. I
absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I found really, really helps is applying moisturising cream and generally looking after your feet. You will be more prone to hard skin in unusual places.
Yeah.
So keeping that hard skin down and applying lots of moisturising cream to keep your skin supple helps reduce the risk of blisters further.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually also put like cycling anti-chafing cream on my toes.
Yes. You can the bodyguard type stuff.
That kind of stuff.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I've forgotten exactly which one it was now.
Yeah.
But again, I thought, well, it's not going to make anything worse.
And not only that, you've probably added a layer of insulation and waterproofness.
Yes.
Because the very materials they're made out of.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yes.
Where were we at? Oh yeah, and it's a really good final question here, and it comes back to a lot of what we've been talking about. She also says she's wondered quite a lot when and how it's best to get advice on technique, and so this is back to this
now. Yeah. Save you years of running badly.
Yeah.
If you start to run, in hindsight, I wish I'd been taught this years ago. I really, really do. I'm enjoying it all. I'd kind of lost a bit of my love of running. I'm now thoroughly enjoying it again. And on the photos, I look like a runner. I don't look like somebody who's trying. So yeah, the sooner you can get advice and have your assessed, looked at by somebody who coaches, so much the better. Because they can just tweak and adjust and.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely agree as well. I think partly sometimes when people start out running, they can sometimes say, "Oh well, I want to maybe get to 5k before I go running with somebody else," or they'll kind of think, well, understandably, people don't know who's the right person to trust either, which is the other thing. I think one of there's a couple of good ways to go these days. One is join a running club.
Definitely.
Because every running club I know, there's lots of different running clubs.
Yep.
Every running club I know has got at least some really good people in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And they've also got, you'll find that they all have experienced runners as well.
Yes.
And they are more than happy to share advice.
Yeah.
Whether you want it or not, they're more than happy to share it. So definitely. And not only that, you'll find that they support you as well.
Yes.
Definitely provide a lot of support. Especially when you go through the, what am I doing? I can't do this.
Yeah.
They pick you up and they support you.
I mean, I think as you then start to develop sort of with that advice, don't be, it's back to what you were saying about getting your feet reassessed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think, oh, well, that's it now.
It's not.
You've
Definitely not.
got it, because, I just went kind of almost back to the start and got in touch with some people and said, right, I'm doing something wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you help me work out what I can do better?
I think the sooner you can get into good habits, the sooner you avoid injury.
Yes.
Because I certainly know I didn't get advice until after I was injured.
Same as me.
And it was just, why did I wait that long?
Yeah, but at the same time, it doesn't mean you have to suddenly have sport. Running as being an expensive sport where you have to go out and pay lots of money.
No.
There's that's where I think the club element can really help.
Yes,
because
definitely.
you'll get lots of club memberships, unless it's a crazy club. Club memberships are very little money per year, and you then get a lot of support and help around you.
Well, not only that, you also get introduced to the English Athletics Association, and they have advice and all the rest of it as well.
Yes.
A lot of club fees cover that, so if you do then decide to go and do any races, you get a discount.
Yeah, so it tends to pay for itself quite easily anyway.
Yeah, and very quickly.
Yeah, and then the other thing folks can do is join things like Team Huddersfield.
Absolutely, and don't be afraid to ask questions. I said there's a wealth of knowledge on them. We're all happy to share. So definitely join Team Huddersfield and take part in races. You don't have to race them to win them. You can just run them to get the experience, but also see other people running. And it's quite amazing what you pick up from watching other people.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things...
And talking to other people.
Yeah, one of the things I did, it was mostly once I dragged myself around my first ultra, which was the White Rose 30. So I did the 60 this last time. I did the 30 the year before. I went on Strava. I looked up the people that finished just ahead of me.
Yeah.
And I started following what they did for their training.
That's a good idea.
And then most of them then friended me on Facebook straight away.
Yeah.
And they're now friends. We go out on training runs and share, because the people that are just ahead of you are trying to learn, and they're only just ahead of you. And I find that quite nice. And it's one of the reasons why I do this podcast, where sometimes I'm lucky and I get some real top runners on, but actually it's trying to get more kind of ordinary runners on, because I think sometimes, if, like you say, we both love to study exactly what Jasmine Paris does. But
I just like to meet her. I think I'd be a bit tongue-tied.
Yeah. I do have a friend who knows her. So I might have a chance sometime in the future.
Well, Nikki Spinks, of course. You could always speak to her at grief, what's the little file run? The Trunts, because she takes your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Nikki Spinks.
But I think, some of these people sometimes are kind of so far ahead. Though we might all aspire to be there, it's such a big leap in the changes you'd have to make to get there.
Yes.
It's quite difficult. And so for me, I've been, kind of making an improvement, maybe with my diet, or I've made an improvement with my running style, or I've made an improvement with my strength.
Yeah.
Then I've made improvements with my kit, and the types of shoes have changed. And that there's so many different things that if you just got a list of this will make you perfect, you'll just be completely overwhelmed and fall off your chair, and you still don't know where to start.
And not only that, you never want to run again.
Yeah, this is why I encourage people to aspire to the next level. Where you're trying to get to, aspire to get that next bit further on.
Yeah.
Once you get there, you can aspire to that next bit, and you'll go slightly wrong along the way. But it should be taking you in the right direction.
Definitely.
But at a kind of sensible pace where you don't feel all the time like you're out of your depth.
No. And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think parkrun's also a good place to start as well, because again, you've got a lot of experienced runners there, but you also got people who are starting out. Yeah. And people who are so sociable.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I liked about it when I started there was if you just go running on your own, you'll progress and you feel good, and you can sometimes start to feel a bit cocky. And then go along to something like parkrun where there's lots of people there, something like Huddersfield Parkrun, you've got 700 or 800, and you will not be anywhere near the front.
No,
because there are some proper.
It gives you a gauge, though.
Exactly,
but
at the same time, it's very unlikely you'll be right at the back.
No.
In fact, you won't be right at the back because the tail walkers will be right at the back. You're never right at the back of parkrun unless you volunteered to be the tail walker.
Although saying that, I have been right at the back with the tail walkers on one occasion. That was one New Year's Day when I'd been in bed with flu all Christmas, and it was my first day I was allowed out, and I was let out on the proviso, you do not run. So I went out with my poles for the first time. I thought, if I have my poles, I can't run because I don't know how to flip to run with these things yet. And that's what I did. And sort of getting are you injured? No, I'm just practicing for my ultras. I got as the back, and the tail runners are so friendly.
Exactly.
It's lovely. So it doesn't matter if you are at the back.
No.
It really doesn't. They're so friendly.
No, it's good. It's good.
Yes. So if you are new, enjoy, but be sensible. Don't get too giddy, because you will. You will get very giddy. You will finish your 5k race and go, I can beat the world. And you can. Yeah. But just be a bit sensible.
Yeah, I think it's about those incremental steps, because like you mentioned earlier on that you did your first 5k race and you thought that was brilliant. Well, it was because it was your first 5k race.
Be very proud of your achievements.
Exactly, and each one of those steps along the way is a massive step.
Absolutely. But even if you have a bad race, it's still
you
learn from it.
Exactly, it's experience, and there's another podcast in the making and in the planning. Is we're going to be doing one about mindset.
Yeah, brilliant.
Because it's something I've been learning from one of the best, and he's going to do a podcast with us, and that is we'll talk a lot on there about finding out what your limiters are. What's stopping you from moving to the next step, and then you work on that limiter. And it moves you on, then you work on the next limiter. It moves you on, and this is how you kind of work your way through the overwhelming thing of there's so many different aspects to running and so many different things that affect it. You just work on one limiter at a time.
Brilliant.
It just keeps you moving you forward. But you can make that a mindset that you actually use during races.
That'd be good.
That's why, I ran 30 miles, the last 30 miles of 108 with an injury, and I finished with a smile on my face.
Finished. What achievement?
Yeah, I had a smile on my face the whole time.
Brilliant.
Well, not the whole time. There is one. I took one selfie at a struggling moment, partly to remind myself how much effort some of it took.
Yes. So when you think about doing it again, you can just remind yourself. Yeah.
Well, that's on my blog on the page where I've wrote about mindset, because it's all part of the experience. It's not all roses.
No.
Yeah. Well,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming along.
No problem.
Talk about a few interesting things there. So thank you for listening to Running Your Stories. That was episode 16. Thank you very much to Abbie for coming along. As mentioned a little during that episode, we have some other exciting episodes in the pipeline. So it's been a bit of a break since the last one, but we'll make up for it with some really good episodes coming up. And please like the show, follow the show, give us a rating. We're on iTunes, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on YouTube. It's hosted on Podbean. You can listen in on the Podbean app on any kind of phone, and you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, where you'll get updates about episodes, and we post updates now and again about some of the races that some of our guests have been getting involved in. So coming up in the next episodes, we're going to have some interesting chats about some big races that have happened, like the Spine race. We're going to have an episode focused on recovery. We're going to have an episode focused on some of the mind games and the mental strength that you need to develop yourself, develop your running, and move forward. So we've got some really good guests lined up. We'll try and find some surprises along the way. So thank you very much for listening. Thanks. Goodbye.